Hello everyone, and welcome back to the 3T Path channel, and welcome back to our Uddhava-gita course. Now we've just started in the last class this chapter on Jnana Yoga, on transcendental knowledge, on the power of knowledge. It's a very important topic. It's central to the whole concept of yoga, of Vedanta, of just Veda spirituality. You have to understand the power of knowledge. It's all about using knowledge to unlock techniques and views and feelings beyond matter. It's techniques to go into transcendence through knowledge, through the power of your consciousness. Now, of course, if you want to watch all the previous classes, this is the 111th class in this course. If you want to watch the previous classes, just make sure you become a member of this channel. The instructions are here in the description of the video. And then check out Uddhava-gita.com. The link is also here in the description. And you can see the whole course nicely organized there. Okay, so here we are. We're in the 11th canto, 19th chapter, verse 6. Krishna is talking to Uddhava. And he says, formerly, great sages, through the sacrifice of Vedic knowledge, through the yajna of jnana, and spiritual enlightenment, worshipped me within themselves, knowing me to be the Supreme Lord of all yajna, of all sacrifice, and the super soul within everyone's heart. Thus, coming to me, these great sages achieve the supreme perfection. So, very interesting. So, here we have the Jnana and Vijnana Yajna. So, Krishna says, look, because we talked about this in the last class. In the last verses, Krishna was talking about Jnana and Vijnana. And we explained how Jnana is knowledge, and Vijnana is understood as that knowledge which has become fully incorporated in your life. So it's called realized knowledge. Like, you don't just know it in book terms, you know it in existential terms. You really understand, you live that knowledge. So Jnana and Vijnana. So he says, look, these great sages, they were doing the yajna of Jnana Vijnana, the Jnana Vijnana yajna. So what does that mean? And how does it work? They were worshiping me within themselves, because that's how jnana works. That's how the path of yoga works. That's what it's all about. It's all about you using this knowledge, you elevating your consciousness so you have access to your swarup, to your own eternal form, and to God. That's the beauty. That's how this whole spiritual path of yoga, Vedanta, of the Vedas is different from the Abrahamic traditions, from the religions where you have faith, where you believe in something. You have faith, it comes down, and then you believe in something. But in yoga, the idea is, no, you will access that information. You will use the knowledge so you have access to it. So it becomes visible to you, so you can experience it through the knowledge. So the Jnana Vijnana Yajna allow the sage to worship Krishna within themselves. Why within themselves? Because knowing me to be not only the Lord of Yajnas, so if you're going to do any yajna, you're going to do it for Krishna. You're not going to do it, because of course, this is in the context of a civilization that was doing all, if you look at the Veda Samhitas, they're all about doing yajnas for the demigods. So you do yajnas for Indra, for get good crop weather. You do yajnas for different purposes, for the Lord of Fire, for Indra, and you do these yajnas to get material benefits. So that's the mundane Vedic religion that's there, which of course was very much present all over the world in olden days, right? In the Roman Empire, that's what everybody was doing, and the Nordic civilizations in Africa, the original peoples of the Americas, that's what they were doing. They were worshiping demigods. You see that all over the place. The Aztecs worshiping Lord Sun, the Greeks worshiping Zeus, and the Nordics worshiping Thor, so it's all over the place. So there's this worship of the demigods is a common religion of the world, of humanity. But yoga, spirituality, in the context of Bhagavad-gita, Krishna explains to Arjuna, look, you go beyond that now. We're going beyond this Vedic religion. So he says, forget all those things, because they have these nice promises. Look, you do this yagya to Indra and you'll get all this, bounty in your life and you get some health, and I'll do this yagya for this and you get that result. And, so all these wonderful enticements. And that's why you would do it. That was the basis of the religion. It wasn't about love and service. It was about, look, I'm going to give you this, Mr. God of Rain or Mr. God of Sun, and I'm expecting this back. It was a transaction. It was a religious transaction. And unfortunately, this concept of religious transaction kind of got infiltrated into a lot of religions. So people are so they weren't worshiping demigods anymore, they were worshiping God, but it was still with this transactional mentality. Okay, I'll worship you, but in exchange, I expect you to protect our peoples, or give me money, or give me health, or cure my child. It was this transaction, which isn't real spirituality. It's not what you're going to see if you look carefully at Bhagavad-gita, Bhagavad Purana. It's not the real Vedanta view. It's not the proper spiritual yogic view. The yogic view is different. It's where you worship Krishna for love, just because that's what the natural state of yourself is. That's who you really are. That's what's happening in reality beyond this illusion, is that pure souls are worshiping and loving God because He's all attractive. Krishna means all attractive. So that's what just the natural state of being is, to be beyond matter, beyond any worries about, health or land or money, because you're not even in that situation at all. You're beyond all those things. So you don't have to worry about, it's my land and my family. It's just you're beyond all these things, because those things are all illusory, temporary. So beyond all those things, you just are yourself. You are a pure spirit soul. God is infinitely attractive. Naturally, you love God just because that's what it is. That's just what it is. That's just the natural, original, correct situation beyond illusion. So, in that sense, you're worshiping Krishna within yourself, knowing you to be the Supreme Lord of all yagas. So all the yagas you're doing, no, this is the Supreme Lord of all yagas is God. If you're going to do anything for anyone, do it for God. And even if you're, I'm helping my son, I'm helping my family, but you're doing that for God. That's the whole concept of Bhagavad Gita. You're doing all your dharmas, everything you do that as an offering unto me, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. So even when you are doing a yagya, in the sense of you're doing serving a higher cause in the community, in the family, even that you're doing it as an offering to Krishna. So Krishna is the Supreme Lord of all sacrifice and the super soul within everyone's heart. So these two things. So not only is Krishna naturally the object of your yagyas, of all your efforts, not only is He naturally, that's what God is, but He's also naturally, He's the one, He's also inside you as the super soul. This is a very important concept which is there in the Upanishads and Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavad Purana. This concept that within every living creature, there's actually two presences inside. There are two souls, not just one, two. There's two souls. There's the Atma and the Paramatma. Atma, soul, Paramatma, super soul. Parama, beyond, super. So the soul and the super soul, Atma, Paramatma. So Atma is you, the individual. There's a me Atma, not, you don't say your soul, you say me soul or you soul. That's the correct way of saying it. It's your body, my body, but it's me soul, you soul. That's the correct understanding. And that's going to be what Krishna is going to explain in the next verse as well. So, you soul, okay, there's Atma, but then are we alone inside this body? No. With us is Paramatma, is God. It's a beautiful concept of God fully, not just like, like a spark. No, fully present. God is fully present within every living being. This plant and me and little insects, whatever. In every living creature you see, from the most microscopic to the most gigantic to Lord Brahma, they all have Atma and Paramatma. Two presence, two souls. So because God is within you, and He's the Supreme Lord of Yajna, with this Jnana and Vijnana, what you do is you use this again to access, to unlock this higher state of consciousness, where you then can experience your true self. And because you've gotten the Jnana and Vijnana about God, you can unlock God. And then you can worship God within yourself always. So that's what we're doing here. It's a beautiful, I don't think a lot of people really understand, because they kind of just make things mundane, and it's all about, oh, God in heaven, and I'm here, and there's all these things I have, family and house and businesses and country, so I have to get God, and I have to get involved in all my little mundane things. So God helping me with my country, with my family, with my health, with my bank account, so that became like a thing, but that's not what's being taught here, at least. That's not really what's taught in Bhagavad-gita. That's not the real spiritual path of the Vedas. That's the contribution. Here it's a different focus. It's okay if you want to do the other thing, but I'm just saying what's here is different. What's here, it's all about you coming in contact with God beyond this world, where you're not actually too concerned about this world. Of course, you do your dharma. You have to do your dharma. You have to do the right thing, because that's your yajna. That's what you're going to offer to Krishna. You do the very best. You do your dharma. That's what Krishna teaches Arjuna. So yes, you have to do you can't just, ignore your duties and be irresponsible and be a bad person. No, you can't, of course not. You have to be a very good person. You have to perform your duties. You have to be if you're a father, you have to be a good father. If you're a community member, you have to be a good community member. If you're a teacher, you have to be a good teacher. If you're laying bricks, you have to lay those bricks really well. Everything's important. If you're picking up trash, you have to pick up trash. If you're cleaning your bathroom, you should clean your bathroom, and you should clean your bathroom. Because the first thing is that you don't want to clean it. You have to clean it. You have to do it well. So everything you do well for Krishna, because He is the Lord of all yajnas. So yes, you're doing everything very nicely, but you're not too concerned about this, because this is all an illusion, temporary, as we're going to see in the next verse. And you're just focused actually in just experiencing your true self, experiencing God, really experiencing, not just like, oh, I have faith, yeah, sure, He's there, He helps me out sometimes. No, really coming in contact, yoga, really coming in contact. Your consciousness is God, it has Krishna consciousness. It becomes Krishnaized. It becomes, divine, because you're in contact with God. That's the idea. Okay, verse 7. So, here is lesson 101. Spirituality 101. The first thing you learn. So if there was like a university for spirituality, a Bhagavad-gita university, the very first class, you'd go on the very first day, this is what you'd be taught. This is the same thing that Krishna does in Bhagavad-gita. As soon as he starts teaching, okay, let's go to the basics. So here are the basics. My dear Uddhava, the material body and mind, composed of the gunas, of the three modes of material nature, attach themselves to you. I love that wording. They attach themselves to you. But they are actually illusion, since they appear only at present, having no original or ultimate existence. How is it possible, therefore, that the various stages of the body, namely birth, growth, reproduction, maintenance, dwindling, and death, can have any relation to your eternal self? These phases relate only to the material body, which previously did not exist and ultimately will not exist. The body exists merely at the present moment. So, wonderfully, it's a very nice, like a slightly different way of explaining it than he does in Bhagavad-gita, but it's a wonderful explanation. So let's look at it again. So, first thing, your body and mind, because sometimes people are like, okay, the body, no, but your mind as well. So your body and mind, of course, we're talking about the gross body and the subtle body. And I'm going to leave a link here in the description of a video where I explain, who you are, understanding the subtle body and the material body. So I go into details into that. I'll leave a link in the description of the video here. So, the body and mind are composed of the gunas, of the three gunas. Of course, the concept is all material reality is made up of these three gunas. That's like the what's going on, like what are they made of? The building blocks of all material reality. Everything that's being studied, the whole universe, all the stars and the suns and the atoms and everything you see, the houses, cars, bricks, everything, and the organic stuff, the body, everything is made of these three gunas. So, these things are made of the three gunas. They attach themselves to you. I love that. So now here you are, pure spirit soul. Beyond all these things, you're not gunas. You're not made of gunas. You're Brahman. You're made of transcendent. You're transcendental matter. You're made of the Brahman. You're, Krishna speaks of mamevam. So you're a part of him. You're a part of him, mamevam. So you're an amsa, a part of him. You're a part of God. I like the poetic spark. We are sparks of God. So we're not matter. So this is a different thing from matter. Matter is an energy from God as well. It's God's energy as well. Krishna says in Bhagavad-gita, I've got two energies, material energy and you guys, and the spiritual energy. They're different. Of course, the whole Yoga Sutras is just to understand, look, it's a different word. They don't use Atma, they use Purusha. So, look, Purusha, Prakriti. Another Prakriti just means matter. With gunas. So, Purusha, Prakriti, they're different. You have to understand Viveka, they're different. So understand the difference. And then you'll experience Ananda bliss. That's why you have this name, Viveka Ananda. It's like when you understand the difference, you have bliss. You can get Viveka, so you can be Vivekananda as well. So understand Purusha, Prakriti. They're different. Same thing. Just slightly use Purusha instead of Atma. And Prakriti is a common term in Bhagavad Gita as well, but in Vedanta, but it's the term in Yoga Sutras, Prakriti. So, and then but in the end he says gunas. It's like when you understand everything, Kaivalya, when you become liberated, you will separate from the gunas. So same idea. So gunas, not you. You're divine spark, your Purusha, your Atma. But these gunas now have attached themselves to you. So now you're like, you've been gunified. You know, it's like you're walking the street and somebody just like throws like, I don't know, you know, some goo on you. Some paint or goo, like you see these protests and people like will throw like paint or something like, you know, some disgusting things. So they'll throw these things at politicians sometimes. So then like, oh, now I'm covered with this stuff. It's not me, but I'm covered with this paint. It's like I'm not normally red, but now somebody's thrown red paint on me, so I'm all red now. You know, so you're covered with this stuff. So they have attached themselves to you, but. And this is where jnana is going to come in. We're going to start using jnana to what we're going to do about this situation. We're going to use jnana. Jnana, vijnana are going to be the keys, the tools we use to separate ourselves again from the gunas. This is where jnana, vijnana are going to come in. You need this knowledge to start unlocking this thing. How do I get off? How do I get this thing off? Like, what's the key? Oh, you have to use this. It's like if somebody throws something at you and you're like, okay, how do I get this stuff off? You know, it's like it doesn't work with just soap and water. What do? Oh, you have to use this other thing. Use this product. So you have to use certain knowledge to, oh, now I can get this thing off. That's how it works. So these things attach to you, but they're actually illusion. And this is a nice way to understand how they're illusion. I mean, why is my body an illusion? Understand this term illusion, because people don't understand this. When we talk about the world being illusion, when we're talking about, you know, your body and mind being illusion, it's not in the sense that they're not there. They are there. It's different. It's like if I just see, you know, a mirage and I think there's water there, there's actually no water there. So it's not illusion in that sense, where actually, like, no, there was no water there ever. There was just something else, it's the waves. It just looked like, but it wasn't water. It's not illusion in that sense. So sometimes we use illusions like, no, you know, the magician will, and then like, oh, what? He's floating in the air. He's not actually floating in the air. He doesn't actually have, you know, power of levitation, but it's an illusion that makes it look like the magician is floating in the air. So that's like that really is an illusion. It's just not true. So illusion is not true. When we talk about illusion in the illusory world, it's not in that sense, because again, matter is very real. It's an energy of God. Krishna says, you know, this deviation, guna, my guna, this is divine energy. My divine energy of the gunas. So this is very real. This is, you know, the gunas are the Krishna's divine energy. Very, very real. And they're more powerful than you because, you know, this is Krishna's energy and you're just like a little spark of Krishna. So a little spark can't deal with the energy of the whole fire. So this is very real, but it's an illusion in this sense. That's why this verse is important. It's an illusion because they only appear at the present, having no original existence. So how does it mean original existence? Like, you know, when did your body started? You know, your body started, in my case, it started a little over 55 years ago. You know, I don't know how long you've had your, so like it started, but for me, 60 years ago, there was no body. So it didn't exist before 6 years ago, no body. And it has no ultimate existence. It won't keep existing. So, we never know, like, which way, you know, it could be like in the next moment, or, you know, 50 years or 100 years, who knows? But it won't keep existing. Like, my body won't be around, you know, 1,000 years from now, 1,000,000, you know, it's gonna end. Or at the very, no, they create some science and you keep living, okay, but the whole universe is gonna end in 150 trillion years. So then everything's gonna be over. I don't care what science and technology you have, it's all gonna be over. So the whole universe has a, you know, use by date. The whole universe has a limited date. It has an expiry date. So nothing is going to ultimately exist. Yet, you, the real you didn't start. This is a very important concept. It's also different from the ideas you get from the Abrahamic Jews. Like there wasn't you weren't created. It's not that you were, from dust to dust. No. Only the body is from dust to dust. But you're not from dust to dust. You've always existed. It's a different concept from that the Judaism had. And you didn't always exist in their view. And you won't always. But in the Vedas, very clear. You've always existed and you will always exist. So original, ultimate existence of the soul. Because again, you're a spark of God. And so it doesn't make sense, like when did God start? And what was there before God? Those questions, actually, they're just like a misuse of words. It's like when we say a square circle. It's like you can't have a square circle. A circle is a square. So you can't have a square, so it's just like a misuse of words. So what was before God? Well, if you understand what God means, you know that there is no before God. And now what happens after God? Oh wait, is God going to die? If you understand what God is, then there's no dying. So there's no question of, so that those words it's just like a misuse of words. It's like you didn't understand what the word meant. So the same thing as a spark of God, you don't have any beginning because God doesn't have any beginning. And as God never ends, you never end because you're a spark of God. So you eternally exist, unchanging, immutable. Krishna explains in Bhagavad-gita. So this is the real goal. So in that sense, this whole body thing is an illusion. And then he drives the point home by saying, therefore, all these various stages of the body. So what are the stages of the body? Birth, growth, reproduction, maintenance, dwindling. I'm in the dwindling phase already. And death. So we have this my children are still in the growth phase, and then soon they'll get into the reproduction phase, and then maintenance, and then quickly we go into the dwindling and death. So that's what's in store for us, right? So that's what. So how can these things have any relation to the eternal self? You're not your body. So this is a very nice way of putting it. These phases relate only to the material body, which previously did not exist and ultimately will not exist. The body merely exists at the present moment. Okay, purport. The example is given that a man walking in the forest may see a rope, but consider it to be a snake. Such perception is maya, or illusion. Although the rope actually exists and a snake also exists in another place. Illusion thus refers to the false identification of one object with another. The material body exists briefly and then disappears. In the past, the body did not exist, and in the future, it will not exist. It enjoys a flickering, momentary existence in the so-called present time. If we falsely identify ourselves as the material body or mind, we are creating an illusion. One who identifies himself as American, Russian, Chinese, Mexican, black or white, man or woman, communist or capitalist, and so on, accepting such designations as his permanent identity, is certainly in deep illusion. He can be compared to a sleeping man who sees himself acting in a different body while dreaming. In the previous verse, Lord Krishna told Uddhava that spiritual knowledge is the means of achieving the highest perfection. And now the Lord is explicitly describing such knowledge. So that's the idea, that this knowledge is what you need. It's the kind of thing we're going to start using, this jnana. So this is just jnana. You just got this knowledge. Oh, I'm not the body? Oh, okay. Now it has to be vijnanized. Now you have to make that jnana become vijnana. You have to really meditate, cultivate this knowledge, understand, contemplate, meditate. So you have to do all these other things in the yoga path, even like you're changing your diet and meditation and all these things so that you can get this jnana and it will become vijnana. And then you'll be free. Then you'll be able to unlock yourself from this attached body. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoy that. Have your rest of your day with lots of peace and lots of love. Hare Krishna.